In a previous video, I started building a clock project with an Arduino and some Neopixel rings. I've been quite surprised at the amount of interest there's been in this project, and I haven't even finished yet. Today I'm here to finish building my clock project, and I have been working off camera a little bit on this to get the code working the way I want it to. So I'll be demonstrating that, and then I'll be putting the clock together in its final sort of stage of appearance. The appearance of this clock is going to be very open. I want to be able to see the wires, and I want to be able to see the circuitry and all of that sort of stuff. So it's going to be an untidy and unconventional clock. Alright, so here's all my pieces of my clock. It's all been just jumbled and bumbled together. You can see my real-time clock module is there. My LED rings are here. I can't remember which one is which. Each of these rings represents some sort of value of time. One of them is going to be minutes, one of them is going to be hours, and one of them is going to be seconds. I also have my little switch there that's going to be the daylight savings switch. For testing, that switch is just a jumper cable that goes in here from ground to pin 2, I think it is. I haven't done anything with this clock for a week or two, but the real-time clock module should have kept the time steady for me. So when I plug this in to the outlet here, I should be met with the current time, which it seems I am. So this is obviously my seconds hand, and one of these will be the hour and one will be the minutes. Judging by what I think the time is, I think it's around 11 o'clock. If I count up the LEDs here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is definitely the hour hand, leaving that one to be the minute hand. In my previous iteration of the code, the behavior of the LEDs was not very nice at all. I was trying to do some fancy fade thing with it. Instead, what I've done is I've just had the hands count. You'll see here that the second hand is counting when we get a full ring completed. 1 minute of time has passed. That behavior is reflected here as well in the minute hand. I'll demonstrate daylight savings toggle switch. So at the moment that's just a switch to ground on pin 2, and if I take that out, the time should update to non-daylight savings time, which it just did. And if I plug it back into pin 2, it will update to daylight savings time. I've got this nice piece of timber. What I'm going to do is I'm going to position all of the pieces of this clock onto this board and then mount them up. I've already gone ahead and drawn a center line on the board here and roughed out where I would like to put things. Each of these little X marks is a division of the board. I've got a little pencil line up the top here, which is going to be where the top of the rings sit. Then I've got another little pencil line up the top here, which is where I plan for all the wires to attach. I'll be getting rid of the breadboard and I'll be replacing that with some sort of circuit board. I haven't quite figured that out yet, what it's going to be. And then I'll be mounting the Arduino over here somewhere so everyone can see that this is an Arduino-powered clock. All the electronics on full display here. I'll get my trusty hot glue gun ready to go. And while that's warming up, I'm just going to locate the hands on here. I'm just going to sort of position these. I'll just keep it plugged in for a minute so I can remember which hands are which. The hands will be arranged like this, and then the wires will come up and flow along here. The circuit will sit somewhere here, and the Arduino will sit somewhere there. I'm going to have to, at some stage, disconnect all of this and mount them a bit more logically. In terms of wiring, I'm thinking out loud here a bit, but there's not a lot happening here on the breadboard that's complex. The only things really connected to the breadboard is a positive and a negative bus. So rather than having a breadboard mounted here and a circuit, I might just set up a couple of bus bars here and join the wires directly to those. How I'm going to do that is a very good question. I'll have a little bit of a rummage around now and look for some materials to make that. What I've settled on for my bus bar, I'm going to use some of this old wire that I found, and I'll stretch that out across the top here. The first thing I'm going to do is actually start unplugging the wiring and getting LEDs located in the correct position. So all of this comes out for now. I'm just going to locate where everything goes on here. It's a low-tech piece of high-tech that I'm doing here. I'll be hot gluing these rings into position. I'll be locating the Arduino just here because this is going to be a mains powered clock. I'll be plugging in a power source to this barrel connector here. I think I'm probably going to put it on the top there. I'll then be able to hang the barrel connector down from the top and run a wire along the top of that. I'll put the real-time clock about here, and I'll put the daylight savings switch somewhere here. That uses up the space of the board neatly, and then I'll stretch out the two bus bars along the top there. I'm still yet to decide whether I'm going to leave them insulated or uninsulated. As I think out loud on this, I'll leave them insulated, and I'll just nick out a little bit of space to join each positive and negative to, and then solder it directly to the wire while leaving the rest of the insulation on. I'll need to cut out a hole for the switch. That hole needs to be around 12 millimeters by 20 millimeters. Alright, there it is. Daylight saving switch is mounted, but it's as straight as it's going to be. Now I'll just put a blob of hot glue on the real-time clock to fasten that in place with. And now I'll go ahead and stick the Arduino down. Now for the hands, I like to call them hands. They're not hands, they're LED rigs, but I'm going to stick with calling them hands. Now I've got plenty of wire to play with. I'll put that red part to the bottom like that. So the brown is going to get soldered to the top row. The coloured wires actually make up the signal wires, so those need to be mounted. Now here I've hit a nice little problem. This green wire here is too short to make its way all the way to the Arduino. I'm going to connect up all my ground wires now. The next thing I'll do is solder up some positive connectors for the LEDs. Now, of course, I need to get a ground and a positive to the real-time clock as well. Now I'm thinking of using these little jumper wires here to try and get the right distance and connect up the real-time clock. Hopefully one of these is going to be a close enough length to work. Of course, I have a problem because I haven't actually connected up the positive and negative bus bars, which is, that's a pretty important thing to overlook. Well, pin 6 is the hour hand, pin 5 is the minute hand, and pin 4 is the second hand. In terms of mechanical positioning of those wires, another dob of hot glue just under there. That'll help them all to stay in position. Dob here as well. One last little piece of the puzzle left, this daylight saving switch. So I have the ground coming through there to the switch. Then I'll have the other end of the switch, which goes to pin 2, coming over here, and that will come around also. Okay, let me test this daylight saving switch. Off, on. There it is. That's my unconventional clock. It's working and it's ready to go into position. I hope you enjoyed this video where I finished off my Arduino clock, which I began building in a previous video. If you haven't seen that, please be sure to check it out. Thanks for watching. Until next time, see you later.